Well, it's a very good morning, a good afternoon for some of you, and a good evening for some of you, wherever you're dialing into this coaching cafe all around the world. Welcome. My name is Natalie Ashdown from Open Door Coaching, and I am joined by the fabulous Bridget Calvert. Hello, Bridget.
Hello there, Natalie. How are you?
Yes, great. Thank you. Yes, and we've just been finding out where everyone's dialing in from. It's so great, really all around the world. So today I'm excited. I'm going to get straight into it. We're looking at coaching in action, continuing our webinar series over the past few weeks where we looked at PCC level coaching. Today, it is all about MCC level coaching, and we cannot wait to introduce you to this really wonderful recording which demonstrates MCC competencies from our very own Bridget Calvert. So Bridget will be listening to your recording, and what a privilege it will be to do that. Before we begin, let us acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we're all meeting today, and their continuing connection to the land, the waters, the communities of Australia, and the lands from all around the world which you might be joining us today, either live or on your favourite streaming service. We are acknowledging and paying our respects to them, to their elders past, present and emerging, and elders from Indigenous communities from all around the world. Well, as I mentioned, this is all about listening to coaching at the highest level of the ICF core competencies and the highest level of ICF credentials. That is the MCC, Master Credentialed Coach. So we have the opportunity to listen to half the coaching session today, and then we'll debrief it quickly together. There's so much that we could go into. So we'll do as much as we can just to give you a taster. And then, of course, we'll pick up the second half of the recording next week. We really encourage you to listen. You can interact in the chat box if you like with us, but we won't be making any commentary during the recording. We have permission from the client to actually share this recording, so we acknowledge the coachee straight away. And can I just ask you to remember that, as coaches, when you're listening, there might be many different things that you want to do as a coach. As you're listening to the coachee, you might have asked a different question. You might have change the approach to the coaching session. So just remember that there's no judgment here. In the moment, the coach is doing what they think is serving the client best, using their instincts based on what the client is offering them. And remember, this is an MCC level. So you might also think about what's coming up for you as you're listening to it. Are you thinking you want to move forward or get into it or rush a bit further or get into some action? So have a think about what's happening for you as a coach, and from there we can all learn as well from our own self-reflection. If you're new to the Coaching Cafe, welcome. We're all about creating a community, sharing our learned experience, having thought-provoking conversations together. Interact with us in the chat box. If you are a regular, welcome back. We love seeing you all the time. So that's our intro. We will have the ICF CCUs available at the end of the session. Okay, there you are. So we're going to turn our videos off and we're going to be focusing on 3 types of competencies. Number 3, establishing and maintaining the agreement. Number 4, cultivating trust and safety. We'll have a listen out for competency number 6, listens actively, and competency number 7, evoking awareness. And here we go. Bridget, if you could give me the thumbs up that you can hear me okay, and enjoy, everybody. Let me turn my volume right up as well. And here we go.
Good morning, Dominique.
Hey, Bridget, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good, not bad, thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you, same.
So thank you for joining me today. I'm looking forward to our conversation together. We have around 30 minutes today, and I'm wondering what you'd like to talk about in this.
So I think something that's come up for me probably recently, but has come up before, is my thoughts around moving into different roles and moving into more senior roles. So recently something came up where the person that I work with was seeking my interest in stepping into a different role. And that's come up before. And, couple of years ago, and it's come up again. And my knee-jerk reaction is always, no, that's ridiculous. I don't think so. And it, when it came up in the last week, I was curious as to my default responses in that space and what's really coming up for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what is most challenging for you around that?
I think for me, the real challenge is I'm creating a whole heap of reasons as to the no and to the negative aspect of the thought to move into a more senior role. And I'll come up with a really long list of why to verify the no. And, they're all real things in my mind. And just recently I thought, but what if, it wasn't that? And then I still come back to the same long list. So I think the real challenge for me is me and how I feel about it. Because if I'm being asked or being, considered, or someone's having a conversation with me about something, there must be something in there for them to get curious with me about it, but I can't see that.
So it sounds like there are people around you that have confidence in you to step up, and at the same time that default reaction is to negate that. And so I'm curious to know, what sorts of uncomfortable feelings or thoughts come up for you when you think about going for that role?
There's always a fear of failure. That is one of them, but I think what's coming up, and it may still be the fear of failure, it'll be working, this position will be working in a large team of peers, and some of my thoughts is, oh my goodness, they'll just be thinking, what on earth is she doing here? How did she get this gig? We've been in the industry for X amount of years, so I spend a lot of time thinking about that, thinking, will I be accepted? Will I be judged? So that is a real thing for me, and spending a bit of time worrying about what everyone else is thinking about the validity of me being in that position. And so I'd say that's, and a little bit for me is the energy and the commitment to do it. So I work with these people, and I've seen how they all do it differently, and some are, it's all in 24 hours a day, and others can do it sort of that 9 to 5 approach. And that worries me a little bit, is what am I going to be foregoing by stepping into this if I was to? And if I, no assumption to be to be successful, but they're all the things that are going through my mind, is probably, how would I be accepted? And could I commit to what it's going to be in terms of the work, the hours, the travel?
So it sounds like your internal dialogue is getting in the way on one hand, and on top of that, there potentially could be a values misalignment too, with working hours and what have you. How does that sit with you?
It sits very well, and it's reminding me of when I was in a different industry, a different role altogether, and I was speaking to my boss at the time, and she was having a conversation with me saying, what's the future look like for you? What are the next steps? And I remember then saying, I had a very young family then, saying, oh no, I'm good where I am because I can't commit to the hours and the travel. And she said to me, but your situation's not going to be the same in 10 years' time. And I feel like I'm still stuck in that mindset a little bit of, I don't know if I can commit. It just, I see some people, it's all consuming, and I that's not what I want. You know, I don't want this all consuming. But then again, as I talk about it, there's nothing to stop me doing it my way. And yeah.
So what's most important about this issue for you to raise this today? What's really important about this issue?
I think it might be the acceptance and lack of judgment amongst a group of people I might be moving into, sort of looking how they might see me as the best person for the job, and how I'll navigate that. You know, if there are, I think there's eight others, how I navigate that if I'm not accepted into that group. Because I know them all quite well, and the work that they've done to get there. So that is probably something that's getting in my way the most. Is I'd rather not even step my toe into it and do that somewhere else where nobody knows me.
Sure. Okay. So, and so then what's the hardest thing about stepping into that and experiencing that, if that's what you think is going to happen? What's the hardest thing about that?
I think a lack of community, or a lack of a team. That feeling of not being supported and being with like-minded people who are all in it together to support each other to be the best that they can be. So that's a team that I work in and around at the moment. So yeah, it's probably not being very open to working with some of those people who I know have extremely different values to me and how they treat people. So yeah, that would bother me. That would be difficult for me to work with.
So at the start of this conversation, you talked about there potentially being a role that other people suggested that you would be good for, and internal dialogue was perhaps telling you something else. And on top of that, you've also highlighted some of the people in the environment that may have you feel not confident in that particular role. So thinking about this conversation today, what would you like to get out of this conversation?
I think for me, it's more putting to rest the inner dialogue and the constant battle of what if, what could, maybe, you know, around that being accepted, and getting myself to a position where I accept the unknown and back myself with a little bit more confidence around, or you know, assurance that I can bring very different things that maybe others can't. So I think it's just getting that chatter out and working with what I actually know, what I can control.
Yes. Yeah. And what will be different for you then, Dominique, if you are able to get rid of that internal dialogue, that internal chatter, and feel that confidence that you're wanting to experience?
I think just a sense of peace almost. I kind of know my position. I know it's a yes or a no. I'm not constantly tied up in knots as should I, would I, could I, shall I do it? You know, it's easier for me to do the yes or the no for these reasons, rather than the back and forth, which I think I've been doing for years, because I haven't spent enough time in that space to really think about it. It's just always been no for 25 different reasons.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I think so you're clear around the challenge itself and what supports that challenge in terms of your own internal dialogue. What would it look like for you if you were to create a picture around being who you wanted to be? What would that look like?
In a future state? Role-wise? You think?
Sure. I'm thinking about some of the words that you've used, that internal chatter and the things that you're telling yourself that prevents you from perhaps taking on these roles. What would be different if you did have the confidence and the challenge is gone? So what you're wanting to get rid of?
Okay. I think a sense of calm and confidence around the places that I want to work in, or where, and also knowing the impact and the value that I do have and what I can bring, as opposed to, I wonder if I could do that and what would that look like, and maybe I can't. So I think it's a sense of being sure around the value that I can bring, so that I'm making a really informed, easy decision for myself around what that looks like for me in the future, and probably picking the places that I want to go as well, and putting myself forward for those positions as opposed to keeping my head low.
I'm curious around calm and confidence, the impact you have aligned to, working in alignment with what you value, and being sure about yourself around your value. I'm wondering, how have you experienced that in the past?
It's been really interesting, because in the past I've worked in different environments, and I've often found it's the people rather than what the nature of the business is that I'm aligned to. So often the nature of the business is secondary or to the work that I've done. And it's really the teams that I've worked in that have been really important to me. I'm currently in an industry that I'm very aligned to, and the people as well. So what we do, and also the people. So this is probably the first time in a really long time, outside of the beginning of my career, where both have aligned beautifully for me, because I have a skill where I could probably slot into any industry, really. So where it's worked really well for me is probably the situation I'm in, but it's very insular. The different role opens it wide open to lots of other parts of the organisation, or other states as well. So it goes from a local to a national, and that's the bit. It becomes a little bit tenuous for me, because it's wide open. So what works well for me now is know the team. I know the values that we work by. I'm instrumental in creating a lot of that because of the role that I hold. And I guide a lot of that work as well. And it works very well. This other position is stepping away from that in a way. Yeah.
So if you could measure currently how you're feeling around experiencing calm and confidence and having an impact and experiencing being aligned to your values, being sure at the moment. On a scale from 1 to 10, how are you currently experiencing all of that?
I would say easily 8, 9 or 10, depending on the day. Currently, I preempting and creating a story so it's not real, but I would see that dropping quite significantly to a 4, a 3 or a 4, because I wouldn't know how to do that as well as I do it here. So that might be the thing. And there's nothing to say I can't build up, right, to that back again. But that's where I'm a little bit nervous. Yeah.
So that fear of the unknown.
Yeah, and sometimes for me it's what I do know, because unfortunately I do know the team, or fortunately, and this is where I sometimes think I'll probably be better off just doing it in a different organization where better the devil, no, that doesn't work. Better you don't know, and ignorance is bliss, right? So there's some people that I know are on a particular journey, and that's for them to go through, but they'll unlikely to be changing who they are, and it's working side by side with some of these colleagues. So it's sort of not sure how I feel about that.
It sounds like that it's not just the fear of the unknown in terms of yourself, but what you do know about the environment in that particular.
Yes.
And then curious, given that you're currently experiencing an 8, 9 or 10 even, and yet this particular role has been thrown your way for, consideration, and yet you do have some insight around some important factors. So I'm wondering, what rules have you set for yourself that allow this to be a challenge at all?
All righty, and we might stop the recording there because we have a lot to actually share so far. But if anyone's writing down the questions, it's what rules have you set for yourself that allow this to be a challenge for you at all? So I remember when I first listened to this recording, Bridge, and it was sometime last year, I think it was. This recording changed the way I coach, I think, because we are hearing the ICF core competencies really come to life at a very high level, particularly around everything we've talked about: establishing and maintaining agreement, cultivating trust and safety, listens actively, evoking awareness. Let me get your opinion. So let's you're the coach, but let's get your opinion on it as an assessor, and then I'd like to offer some insights as well. What are you hearing, Bridge?
Sure, Nat. So I'm listening to this, and I'm noticing that some of the questions will likely fall into a few categories. So it's not going to be compartmentalized in any way. The things that I picked up on re-listening to this recording was the space and the silence that was, I guess, offered for the coachee to think and reflect. There was some time spent around establishing and maintaining the agreement. So questions such as, what would you like to accomplish? What's most challenging for you around that? So really looking at, defining what the coachee believes they need to address in order to accomplish what they want from the session. Other questions that highlight the challenge might be what sorts of uncomfortable thoughts or feelings come up for you. And also that probably comes under trust and safety, picking up on some of the things that are not said as well, and that's also active listening, and asking. So just to clarify, how does that sit with you? Just to or just to ask the question if it did or not. What's most important about this issue that you've raised today? That question I noticed was a little stacked. I asked it twice, so I picked up on that.
what's the hardest thing about that? So these sorts of questions to sort of highlight what they want to accomplish, but also what the challenge is to sort of highlight that gap. What else? Which also too, I guess, the active listening, listening for the things that are not said, feeding back what I heard, and sort of offering that as an observation. What else? What would be different for you? And picking up on her words, getting rid of internal chatter, building that confidence. So picking up on those sorts of words and feeding them back into a question. What would it look like to be who you wanted to be? So focusing on not just the what, not just the what do you need to do, but also who do you need to be able to achieve the outcome that you're looking for. Also reflecting on success from the past, how have you experienced that in the past? So evoking awareness. So not only looking at the current thinking, but reflecting on stretching her to think beyond where she's currently thinking. So that evoking awareness piece. Again, pulling up on words that she's used: calm, confidence, impact, using a scaling question. And what rules have you set for yourself? Again, evoking awareness. So that's sort of what I was scribbling down, writing down as I was listening to that. So there's parts of core competency coming through, and they're a bit mixed, and they're not compartmentalized, as I said.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the important thing, is that we're hearing all of the core competencies, in my opinion, coming out in just this first 15 minutes that we've listened to. And yes, you've pointed out all the excellent questions that you've asked there, Bridge, in order to evoke awareness. And I really encourage everyone that's listening to listen back and even write down those questions, because you really do have a wonderful opportunity to learn an extended set of questions there as well. I think the thing that stood out for me the most is that when you hear a client who has the negative talk and has the negative feelings, it's very easy to go for a reframe here. So and that would have been good coaching as well. So an ACC level coach or a PCC level coach, introductory PCC level coach, could have gone for the reframe. How would you like to see it? What would you like to say to yourself? These kind of questions would have been really good coaching. But at MCC level and high PCC level, as we've just worked with Air Force last week, we're really exploring what does PCC, high PCC into MCC look like. It is really trying to get under the surface and find out what is causing the challenge here, and why is this a challenge, and also why is it so important that we even speak about it. And Bridget, you so beautifully identified that this is not just about internal dialogue, it's also about a potential values misalignment. And again, it would have been easy to go for the reframe on any of these points all along. That's why I'm really suggesting to people, have another listen. And in terms of cultivating trust and safety, how does the coach maintain the space and allow the space and the coaching presence to allow that trust and safety to build, as the coach and the coachee together, partnering, go under the surface about what all of this is about. We could have easily reframed on the top of the surface and had positive comments that she can now think about, but there's a lot more to it, as you can hear. And the re-establishing of the agreement was around, well, based on what the clients offered, what do they want to now get out of the conversation? And here, where the coach is evoking that awareness of what's happening, what is it, why are we even discussing this? And then the evoking awareness is now, with that information, how do you want to use this conversation? And all of that, I think, is so important in terms of the coaching presence, Bridge, you holding the space for the client. Last week at Air Force, we were talking about pulling that little thread and seeing how the client responds. And you're doing that from a curious state. You don't need a lot of the content, but you're curious about what does it mean to her and who she wants to be. And then, of course, finding out how she's experienced this in the past. So another part of what we do here is find out, how has the client been successful in the past, and then what does that mean to her future state? So I can't express enough the how this coaching recording in particular, that's why I wanted to share it with everybody, really upped the ante on my coaching and reminded me to create that presence and not jump in too fast into moving the client. We're moving at the client's pace here in this coaching recording, as opposed to, you could easily hear the different tracks you could have taken. But really partnering with them around that, listening actively, evoking awareness with every question, and truly cultivating that trust. And we've listened to the first half of the session, and it sets us up for what happens in the second half of the session. So, Bridge, I know we're right on time. Is there anything else you wanted to add that people should be aware of in terms of MCC competencies?
No, I think it's just about dancing with the client, so to speak. It's really tapping into where are they at and how do you respond in the moment directly to what the client's saying as well. So, but no, I'm looking forward to hearing the second half.
Yes, and again, it's not just about what the client could do here. The client could think about better things to say for themselves, for example. It's not about what they're doing. It's about who they are. And that's what's been explored. And that is the MCC level of exploring under the surface, who they are, what's the problem here, why are we talking about it? So as you say, we look forward to hearing how that who of the client really comes out in our second half of our session, which we will look at next week. So thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. We hope that you got a lot out of this program, this conversation. We've got our Cert 4 and our diploma programs coming up, so we welcome you to join us for those. And as always, we say thank you for joining us. Enjoy your coaching and enjoy listening to the demonstration, which hopefully extends your thinking as well around your ICF core competencies. We will say goodbye for now.
Bye for now.